Hello everyone. I've got people asking me how in the world am I canning beans, dry beans. You know, get them out of the pack and then you can them. And they're also like, why would you do that? You've already got them. Well, when I come home, you know, and I'm late and I can't wait all day for beans to cook if that's what we want for supper. So to grab a can of beans that are already cooked and seasoned is really nice. I don't do a lot of them this way, but I have done a few, and you have to use a pressure canner to do this. You cannot do this with a water bath. The temperature doesn't get hot enough or high enough for my understanding. It needs more pressure. So we're going to go through this today. I have, I got some pinto beans, I got some black beans, and I have navy beans. And I'm going to do them in a quart jar today instead of the pints like I normally do. I wanted a little bit larger size. I just want a few. So I'm going to show you how I do that. And the first thing that I do, and that we all should do, is when you have to sort your beans. Open it up. I get me a bowl or the colander, and I set it in my sink or set it at the table, and I sort these. I make sure that there's no dirt clumps or rocks, and I have found a lot of dirt clumps in my bags of beans, and I've also found several rocks, and that would be horrible to bite into after you've done all that work. So what I do is I do that. I rinse them really good. I strain them, and for the pints, I usually only use a half a cup of beans per pint. But for the quarts, because it is doubled, I'm going to use a cup of beans. And the book, my pressure cook book, tells me that I need to, of course, sort them, wash them, soak them for 12 to 18 hours. You could do that if you want. If you want your beans already soaked, you could do that. I know that some people do that and they rinse them really good again because that releases some of the gas in the beans. I don't do that, but when I do cook them, I put just a tad bit of baking soda in mine. I mean, just a bit. If you put too much baking soda, it ruins your beans. But just a little bit of baking soda will remove the gas in the beans. You'll see it all bubble up and come out of it, and it's pretty cool. This is what I'm doing today, and for those of you that have been asking and want me to show you how, I guess you follow along with me. Let's get this started. Okay, we are at my new recently outdoor kitchen because it gets too hot in the cabin to do this. So Daddy blessed me with an outdoor cooking stove, so thank you, Daddy. But anyway, I've got my canner set up, and I haven't got them on yet. They're cold. But if you have to sterilize the cans, or the jars, I keep saying cans. I don't know why. But if you have to sterilize the jars, this is what I do. Put them in there. You put it in cold, bring it all to a boil. Once your jars come to a boil, I also put vinegar in this water. About a couple tablespoons of vinegar. I have hard water where we live, and this is supposed to keep the calcium buildup from forming on it, and so far it's working for me. That is something I just recently learned. I'm starting with a 23 quart pressure canner. I got this off of Amazon for about $160. I got it on sale. I think they're about $165 now, if you can find them. They're hard to get once canning season starts. And then I have my hot water with my lids in it. Got my rings ready. I have a little bowl with vinegar in it and a rag, and I dip this in the vinegar and I wipe my rings with rag. I have my debubbler. Of course, I have my water. It's not hot. I have my water. I've got all my spices, spoon, and I have my jars. Yeah. Whoop. I have my jars sitting here ready for me to go, and I also have my beans with a half cup scoop You could use a full cup scoop. But like I said earlier, some of these recipes call for you to soak your beans. This is doing it without soaking your beans, and it's up to you. If you follow this book that comes with a canner, in it there is guides on how to can meat, beans, green beans, vegetables. I did chicken with this pressure canner, and it turned out awesome. You know, you could control the salt content, you could control your own seasonings that you like, and it was the best chicken in a jar that I have ever ate. And that was this year, the first year I've started using this. So first thing's adding a scoop. This is a half a scoop, so I'm adding 1 cup per jar. Then I go and I add my seasoning. I think with my black beans, I want to add some, maybe I'll change it, half a teaspoon. I'm going to add a half a teaspoon of minced onion. I'm going to add, I don't know, maybe a couple teaspoons, maybe just one. 1 teaspoon of, I use chicken bouillon powdered, but I'm going to put the chicken bouillon in other things, so I'm going to put a teaspoon in each one. I might have put 2 in that one, I don't know. You can put ham flavoring, whatever you want. I just can't have the ham flavoring, so I don't do that. I'm just going to put there. And then two of these, I'm actually going to put some taco seasoning in it. I'm going to put about a teaspoon. Probably gonna make it a little salty. Maybe 3 of them. I switched it to 3. And then I think to this jar that's got the taco seasoning in it, I'm going to add onion. Okay, got that done. And because this stuff is already salty, I'm not adding any more salt. I'm not going to do it because it's going to be salty as it is. But now, I've got that in there. I fill them with water up to, let me check. Gotta make sure my book, I get confused on this sometimes. 1 inch. I thought so. 1 inch headspace. 1 inch is right here at the bottom ring. That's 1 inch. I thought I was recording, but apparently I wasn't for this process. So, I'm going to show you how to do this. I went ahead and I took my vinegar water, and my little bowl of vinegar that I had, and my rag, and I go around the edges of them, each and every one of them, really good. Then I add my ring to each one, a ring, a clean one, on each one, and I tighten it hand tight, not too tight. I have arthritis in my hand, so it, you know, my tight isn't as tight as others. That is after you wiped each rim. Okay. Now that I got these finished, they go over here in my canner. I'm gonna move you in my canner here. Here's the seal and my canner. I try not to bump that. You'll mess up your regulator. But in here I have 3 quarts of water. That's what my pressure canner calls for. Make sure that you find out what your pressure canner calls for. I got 3 quarts of water and some vinegar already in here. And I'm just going to set my jars down inside of it. It takes 7 quarts, this one does. There, I got my 7 jars in here. I went and got a little bit of Crisco. I'm just going to put it on my seal. Just give it a little bit of oil so that I can get it off easy. And what it does, it goes on the inside of your ring here. The inside of your lid. Get all my stuff in there, my vinegar, my 3 things. Pressure canners, you want the arrows with the arrows. So you'll see that it says close and open here. You want that right there with that. If you do not have it in that place, you're going to have a very difficult time putting this lid on because it won't fit anywhere else. Okay, I shut it. As I get the grease off my hands. And then I'm going to start heating this thing up. Got my gas stove going. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait for the steam to come out of this. Once it comes, to go for a ride. Once it comes out of this valve, which is where your weight goes. Once it comes out of this valve, for 10 minutes I let that steam come up out of that valve. 11 pounds of pressure for 90 minutes. Now if I was doing pints, I would do it only for 75 minutes. And it also goes up by your altitude. But I'm below 1,000 feet here. So 90 minutes is what it's going to be. I just want to show you, see how the steam is starting to come out. When it comes stronger than that, and it's like you can see a lot of it coming out, that's when you count down 10 minutes. And it takes it a while sometimes to get to that point. Sometimes it'll take it about 15 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes, just to get to where it starts steaming. While I'm waiting the 10 minutes to put my weight on the canner, I wanted to say, I didn't do this. I've forgotten I was going to do this. But you can also put in diced green chilies. My sister did it last week, and her husband absolutely loved the diced green chilies in with his beans. And she just opened a can up and just put maybe a I don't know. She only did a few jars. Maybe a tablespoon of the chilies in each jar. And he absolutely loved it. So that's something to think about. Alright, well, it's almost done. I only got a couple more minutes. But as this is cooking, I'm going to sterilize some half pint to make some strawberry jam. And I'm putting it in cold water. And as I said, when you sterilize something, bring it to a boil. Once it's at a boil, 10 minutes, and then you can turn it off. And leave it on simmer if you're going to put hot liquids in it. I always add a couple tablespoons of vinegar to my water. Time to put the knob on it. This scares me, I really have to say. Okay, I got the knob on. Now we have to bring it up to 11 pounds of pressure. My pressure canner's staying at 11 pounds per pressure. I finally got it adjusted. That is, once I've got it adjusted to the point that I need it to be, I count down. I set my timer for 90 minutes. It's been 90 minutes since we had it, and it's gone down and it's not steaming anymore. It's time to get them out. You'll see that this little thing will drop down. That means that there's no pressure left in there. Looks like I might have had one that leaked a little or broke. I don't know. I hope it didn't break. But it comes out, you know, they're like this. They're full of beans. And my white beans. And I'll set them out, and they'll stay out here until you'll start hearing them pop. When you hear the pop, you know the seal is closed on it. They're still boiling a little bit on the inside. And sometimes, from my understanding, even though you have them sealed, they could still ooze out some stuff out of it. So, see how it's still bubbling? My jars have all sealed well. It's my black beans and my navy beans and then my pinto beans. I will label them here in a little bit, and then I will still wait 24 hours to make sure that they are fully sealed, because they're still warm, but nothing's raised. I've heard them all snap. This was my leaker. This was the problem child in my thing. So if the seal's bad on this one, we'll just have this one for supper tomorrow. So that was it. That's the process of canning. You know, seems like it would be difficult, but in reality it's not. The only difficult part is making sure that your pressure gauge is regulated where it needs to be. That's the difficult part. And then just sitting back and waiting. But usually while I'm waiting, I'm preparing other stuff if I have other stuff to do. But today I don't. So today it was just taking care of things here on home. And just keeping an eye on it, because sometimes that, you know, you got to keep making sure that it's at 11 and it didn't go up to 15 or 16 or down to 5. You want to try to keep it at 11 psi. God bless you, and until next time.